What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Friday, by the way. Hopefully you guys got a good weekend lined up. In today's video, I'm happy to share with you guys that there is some good news coming for Raid, and that's going to include a buff to the brand new Chronophage set that's going to be happening in the near future. Now, if you guys don't know, the Chronophage set is the set dropping from the brand new event dungeon. You can kind of see here, it's a brand new set, Chronophage, and it's going to be an exclusive set just for this event, at least for now. It features a unique buff called the Immutable stack. And basically these stacks are supposed to prevent 1 turn of cooldown reduction on the champion that wears this set. So you can see a 4-piece set here, 6-piece set, and a 9-piece set granting different immutable stacks. One immutable stack basically stops 1 turn worth of cooldown reduction on this champion. So if you have a 9-piece set, it stops 3 turns reduction. Now, we've been giving some feedback ever since this set was released to us that this set was just not strong enough. And I think generally across the board, everyone pretty much agrees. Unfortunately, we only received information about this set and the new event dungeon probably a day or two before they released it. So they did not give us any time to test it or give them feedback. But after they announced it to us, we were very adamant about how poor this set was. I'm sure other people have mentioned this as well, especially for an event dungeon with such limited time to farm this set. I don't think many people were going very crazy for this set, mainly because it was a bit of a letdown. And I think for Plarium, they had to act on this because they couldn't allow the event dungeon to basically be something that nobody wanted to do. So someone had asked me whether a buff was possible for the set, and I said absolutely, because they did actually change the event dungeon last time around for the Corrosa event. They changed the difficulty of the Corrosa event probably near the midway mark for the Corrosa campaign. So I thought that them buffing Chronophage was definitely on the table, and here it is today. Break it down for you guys so you guys can see the two parts of it. All right, so here is the brand new buff. First thing they're doing is actually reshuffling the stat distribution of the HP, resistance, and the speed. Now, if you guys were watching in a previous video, this is exactly what I mentioned to them that they should do, because this allows people to actually stack a little bit of resistance for 1 piece and allow a 2-piece speed bonus as well, similar to Pinpoint. Now, I didn't really like that the 1 piece only gave 20 resistance. I don't think that's enough to make a big difference. My suggestion to them was 1 piece give 40 resistance and then 2 piece give 5% speed. But in this case, they're actually going for the 1 piece 20 resistance, 2 piece 10% speed. Now, that could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you want to look at it. I just thought they'd do something different for the 2-piece since Pinpoint was already 2-piece for 10 speed. They also removed the HP bonus from here. They just added some extra resistance. I don't know why they are basically so against giving more resistance on the gear sets that we have, mainly because we have tons of ways to get accuracy, but the ways to get resistance just doesn't match up to how quickly and easily we can stack resistance. So personally speaking, I suggested 1 piece 40 resistance, 2 piece 5% speed, and then 3 piece keep the 10% HP. So basically just reshuffling the distribution of the stats. But yeah, I like this way better than the previous one where they're giving you HP as the first piece bonus. So overall, a good change just to the stats there. Also for the 5-piece, instead of HP, they're giving you 10% speed, which is a big boost, mainly because the HP just isn't super important. 7-piece, they're going to give you 20 resistance instead of 40 resistance. And then 8-piece, they're going to give you 12% speed instead of 5% speed. Now, although I do like the distribution of the stats a little bit better, they didn't give us more stats. So previously, they're actually giving us 80 resistance in total, 80 resistance right here, 40, 40. And then after rebalance, they're actually giving us 20, 20, and 20. So 60 resistance. So it's actually really strange that they're doing this. Honestly, like I said, I don't know why they're so opposed to giving us extra resistance. Only 60 resistance from this set really doesn't do a damn whole lot. I would have loved to see at least 80 resistance returning, closer to 120 resistance extra. I would have loved to see 120 resistance. But unfortunately, we lost resistance from the rebalance here. Now, the other big rebalance is that they're changing the way the immutable buff is working, which really needed to happen. And this is what they're doing. So the immutable buff will now block any attempt to increase a skill's cooldown on a champion. Previously, it would only prevent one turn of cooldown reduction. Now it's any attempt, whether it's an AoE attempt or it's a single target attempt or it's a full lockout attempt. That's one ability. This is what the immutable buff should have been when it was first released. Having it only prevent one turn is absolutely ridiculous because, as you can clearly see, the current 9-piece bonus can only prevent 3 turns. Let's say you had a 6-turn cooldown ability and then you were facing a warlord that fully depletes your cooldowns. This 9-piece bonus can't even fully prevent that cooldown lockout. So it's absolutely absurd why they would release it in the way it is right now. For a 9-piece set, it was absolutely horrendous. I told them that this Chronophage set was basically unusable, to be honest, in its current state. So I'm really glad to see them change the way the immutable stacks work, because at least now after the changes, the 4-piece bonus is enough to prevent one attempt at locking out the champion that wears the set, which is usually enough. So now the 4-piece bonus is actually useful, and I could totally see this being used with 4-piece stone skin, for example, on a support champion or a reset champion that you bring in to counter the enemy lockout champion. Lastly, they mentioned that the above changes will be scheduled for release next week, and there's going to be a fix on the turtle animation where they basically will all attack together instead of one by one, just to speed up some of the animation speeds. Now that's a pretty nice change there. Once again, I'm going to leave the stat distribution up on the left hand side. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think about these changes. Like I said, I really like the change in the way the stats are distributed. Removing the HP percentage I think is totally fine, just because HP is probably the least important stat. But I don't like that they didn't give us some extra resistance after the rebalance changes. Now they did give us some extra speed stats, which of course is super relevant for a champion that would probably require to wear this set, or makes it more relevant to more people, especially the 2-piece bonus that just give you speed. So keep in mind that if you guys have a ring and amulet, you just slap that on any champion, you're going to pick up an additional 10% speed. Now that's invaluable, right? Especially for people that just starting out the game right now that don't have pinpoint gear, that never had to farm it before. Just getting a 2-piece ring and amulet on your champion, you're going to get 10% speed, so that's a big deal. Whereas before, you're not getting any of that. But I don't like that they didn't give us extra resistance. They actually took away resistance from this set. They made it only 60 instead of 80. And I think 60 is an absolute laughable amount of resistance, because even if you were wearing a 9-piece set of Chronophage, you're only getting an extra 60 resistance. Now, 60 resistance isn't even enough to properly resist the identical champion without the 9-piece set. So what I'm saying is that if you have 2 identical champions, you equipped one 9-piece Chronophage set on one champion, and you leave the other champion with basically the base stats. Let's say the naked champion was trying to land debuffs against the champion that's wearing the 9-piece set with extra 60 resistance. This is what the odds are that the debuffs will land. I'm going to put a chart up here, guys. Hey guys, I'm going to show you guys how accuracy versus resistance work and how it affects you guys landing debuffs, and why this Chronophage set, even at the 9-piece, doesn't really give you enough resistance to really do anything with that resistance. So if you guys look at this chart here, it's a measure between accuracy and resistance. If you look here where it says 0, this line down the middle is when accuracy and resistance is the same. So even if they were both 0 on a champion, you still have 92.5% chance of landing your debuffs against the champion with the same amount of resistance as you have accuracy. So you can kind of see how this is heavily weighted for champions with debuffs landing as opposed to debuffs getting resisted. Now, if you put a 9-piece Chronophage set on a blank character, let's say they both had, for example, 0 accuracy and 0 resistance, and then you gave one of the blank characters, a 9-piece Chronophage set where they got an extra 60 resistance. So now you look down the blue line here, and then you look at this negative 60. So even against a champion with a 9-piece Chronophage set and that 60 extra resistance, your chance of landing a debuff against that champion with the identical champion is still 30%. So you still can land your debuffs 30% of the time against an equal champion with the extra 9-piece set here. I hope that makes sense to you guys, but basically it just shows that the Chronophage set with the resistance doesn't make a whole big difference for people looking for extra resistance. It's just not enough to make any sort of real big impact, especially for a 9-piece set. Now the speed boost from the 9-piece set or the 8-piece set is still very nice. You're getting an extra 32% speed, which is really solid. And of course, the rebalanced immutable stacks makes it much more user friendly and much more powerful. But overall, I still don't think this set is super great in terms of general use, but it's a lot better than what it was before. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the balance changes here. Like I said, it's coming sometime next week. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys are doing this weekend. Thanks so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you guys in the next video.